Howdy folks, welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving, or if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, that it was a good Thursday and that your weekend went well. I am getting over some sort of a sickness thing, so that's always a treat. But well enough to continue today, and I'm really excited too because we were making really good progress on porting video tutorials over to Eventide. And then we stopped because of the October Microservices meetup code we were developing. And there are two cool components with some good stuff in them, but that just went on a little bit longer than I thought it would. So we get to jump back into doing the port. So it's going to be a little bumpy trying to pick up where we were. I have also since rebooted my computer, so a bunch of stuff is not correct here. So let's come here, and we're not doing the book proposal today. We are aggregators and sharing schema. So that's our what we're doing. That just showed up. Great. I probably need to fix that in Nightbot as well. I have too many browser tabs open right now. There we go. Let's see here. So we're not prepping for the meetup. Wow. It stinks having to do that in two locations, and maybe I'll change the streaming setup so that we don't have to, but we are doing aggregators and sharing schema. I'll type it in there. Oh no, that's not right. This is a web form, so we don't have to save it locally. And now let's see, font size, that looks a little small. Is that better? Let's just go with that, and then I'll resize that. And you know, since we're not doing this anymore, we can close it. And cool. So let's see here. In this first window, we're gonna make a change. We're gonna put Eventide here. Sometimes we poke around in there. And then also I don't have to have a separate muscle memory for work and doing the stream. So let's get that set up. And now we can come here and we're like, what? I have fun things on here that I do stuff with. Let's see. Practical Microservices. There we go. And then in here is where we have the original book code, but that wasn't quite right. We want to go into the video tutorials folder there. Great. So that's the node stuff. And then there's a good chance we'll want to run things in here. Oh, hey, SB Ditto. Sorry, I didn't have the chat open. Yeah, feeling a little bit better. Good to see you. It was just like Friday night, came down with something. I went to a metal show on Wednesday. Might have picked something up during that. Worth it. Just a cold or something. It's clearing up. But like, I don't know. Sunday was pretty tough, and yesterday, I don't know, wasn't feeling up to work. And it's like, well, working and streaming are roughly equal in difficulty. So if I'm telling work I can't make it to work, it would be pretty, I don't know, not who I want to be to then say, oh, but I can stream. That would just be kind of silly. So anyway, how are you doing? While I open more windows here. Doing well. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. It's taking me a little bit of time here to remember what things need to be open. But I'm really excited because if we come to the aggregator here, we had the schema file that I was struggling with. And in my day job, I validated that these pathing concerns I had were legit. And what I learned was file.join is going to work relative sorry, not file.join. This dir.entries is going to work relative to the working directory of your process. And so when this was running in the context of the aggregator, it worked just fine because lib user credentials aggregator schema is a thing. But if this is packaged as a gem and then pulled into another project, then that other project doesn't have lib off of its working directory, and so it would fail. And so what I learned was, but first, the old way of doing this, I believe it's file.dirname. I don't think it's that. I tweeted about this, so I don't remember what it is. Let's go to twitter.com/youthinkgarfoldo. This is kind of why I tweeted this yesterday. There we go. Oh, I don't have the old one there, do I? That's fine. All right. Well, I think it's file.dirname. Let's check it out real quick. File.dirname. Bark at me. Wrong number of arguments. Okay, yeah, so that's the actual thing. So if you give it a path, it'll strip off the directory portion of that. And this file constant, I guess it is here, although it starts with an underscore. Not entirely sure what that is. It's not a variable, but when you place that in a Ruby file, it will be replaced with a string matching the absolute path of the file that it's in. It's kind of interesting in IRB. I think it just says IRB. Ooh, boy, that's great typo right there. Yes, it's IRB. But if we did like echo puts file and put that into, let's call it bob.rb, and then we run ruby bob.rb. Oh, interesting. How did this ever work? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Struggling to operate the computer here. All right, that's file. What happens if we put this new one called dir right there? Okay. Huh. Maybe file.dirname isn't what I thought it was. 1 second. I'm just gonna cheat real quick and look at something else done previously. No, it is file.dirname that I tried before. Whatever. I don't know why sometimes it... So, oh, wait a second. So what happens then if you do a file.dirname on that? What does that give? Oh, helps to spell it correctly, of course. Huh, just dot. Maybe file.join doesn't work relative to the working directory. But whatever. Dir gets me what I want, so that's what we're going to go with. So we just dropped dir in there, which sounds a lot like derp, which I can get behind. Let us delete that file right there. Great. All right, so with that in place, now we have the correct pathing to get to there. Something else that I learned was this works best if it's idempotent, and we can add the creation of this index directly into the table creation like so. We put a comma after our columns. We can then do constraint. I think it's like that. We'll of course run it and see if that's the case. But then with all of that, that could be packaged up and shared with something else. Now, the tricky part of validating it is we haven't touched application layer stuff at all right now. So we've done a few components in this porting process. What have we done? We sketched out the identity component enough to just create its client gem to get the message definitions to use here in this aggregator. And this relative path test, that was debugging all of this. I'm going to just get rid of that because not worth keeping. We did the video publishing component and we did the send email component, and the user credentials aggregator is what we're currently doing. Nothing has been done with the application. So having this schema shareable like this, we currently don't have anything that would use it. And so we need to verify that it works correctly. And we also need to start that application layer. There's a good chance I'll probably keep the application stuff all in the same Rails project. It could be several different servers, but I'm not sure what that will add to this whole effort. So maybe what we could do is just start the application side of it today. Also, that shouldn't be like that. Yeah, let's do that. Let me label my window here. So this is user credentials aggregator, like so. And so if we came here and opened Practical Microservices, this would be application. Maybe we could call it video tutorials application, like so. Do I have Rails installed here? I don't. Okay, so what do I get if I get gem list? A whole bunch of gems there. I wonder why they're all there. Whatever. So if we did a, would it be gem install Rails or bundle? Let's just install Rails here, like so. This will make a bunch of stuff. I like how the event side components put the gems in a local folder that you can easily blow away. And obviously what I'm doing here is not going to do that. And I'm looking for this little fidget cube that I have, but can't find it. So, oh, Rails is up to 7, neat. So if we said Rails new, what happens if we do video tutorial application? I bet Rails wants that to be underscored. Let's see what happens here. What? I'm not gonna suit. Oh, wait a second. No, I've got the right Ruby version here. That's strange. Bundle install Rails. Bundle install was not called. Right, I need a gem file for that. Why didn't Rails run there? That is really showing. Not why are they LS there? That's strange. That's how I've always done that in the past. I gem installed Rails, right? Gem install Rails, Rails new, and it doesn't work. All right, well, let's maybe possible Rails change something and I didn't do something wrong. So I'm just gonna go with that for right now. Let's check out Ruby on Rails. How do you get started with it? Good company, great, everything I need, optimize for happiness. Read the guides. Getting started. Creating a new Rails project. Got Ruby installed. Let's assume I got all of that. Gem install Rails. Should be able to run this in a terminal. But I was not able to. And I am not going to sudo gem install it. This is obnoxious. Could I just make a gem file here and in here? Oh, what would you put in there? Source Ruby gems. probably doing this a really silly way, but here we go. Yeah, that's what we want. So put that in the file, and then from here we can say bundle install. Yeah, what? Oh, right. You have to say gem Rails. And then what version would we want? How to use bundler with Rails. But I don't want to do that. Don't you end up declaring a dependency on Rails? Whatever. We're just going to say gem Rails because we're living on the edge here. Like so. So now we can do bundle exec Rails new video tutorial application. Boy, you didn't like that. Huh. This is literally the most difficult I've ever had setting up Rails before. So what crashed? Uninitialized constant gem source. Huh. This is really odd. Not a fan of this. How do you just like completely reset your Ruby gems environment? I found some command for uninstalling all your gems, but there were a whole bunch of manual steps I had to do to make that work. If I'm using Ruby or Shruby, do I have... Where do the gems get stored? Aha. So does that match? No, because it looks like YAML's there. I'd like to just remove everything in here. Let's try it. We're just living on the edge today. So that would be in gem, Ruby, whatever, gem. Let's delete all of our gems and now see what happens. Bunch of things still show up here. So where are they coming from? I see. There's also this directory right here. And what is in it? Bundler is in there. As is test unit? That's strange. I don't think these should all be in here. But what do I know, right? RDoc. These look like the kinds of things that ship with Ruby, and if I were to delete them, maybe that would be bad news? Does Bundler actually ship with Ruby? So does that list match the ones that are here? No, where are some of these coming from? Happens if I open a new terminal. Nope. That didn't do it. Where do they come from? Because I deleted this folder right here. I think this is the most exciting stream I've done to date right now. So there's nothing in gems. Plugins. Specifications. What are... Oh, do I have to remove those as well? Let's do it. Let's see how broken we can make things. There we go. Aha, now you just match what is in... Nope, not that folder. That folder. So zlib YAML weak rep. Okay, cool. That's kind of what I wanted. So if I did bundle, there's no bundle. What? There is a bundle? All right, let's try running that Rails command again. Or bundle exec Rails. Hey, it worked. Video tutorial application. No, don't make that one. Applications. It did make it, so now I need to delete it. ls ria-rf video tutorial. Get rid of you and also you. All right. Try this again. Whoops, that was the rm-rf. What I wanted was the Rails new boot snap setup. Can't find it. This is so obnoxious. Wonder if it's because I'm bundle execing Rails and then all within the same process it's then trying to go into Rails and rerun bundler. That could be it. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I want to highlight this text and see why it thinks I need to do that. Ah, nice. Okay, so this doesn't seem quite right. So because I'm using chruby, or shruby as I like to call it, when you install a gem, that gem isn't immediately available to be run. So opening a new terminal window seems to have solved that. So let's remove the gem file. Oh, that's the wrong directory. So this one, let's close you, reopen you. I suppose I could have just sourced my bash stuff again, but whatever. Tutorials, applications. Oops, let's actually go back up one more, remove that gem file, and then actually I want to get rid of video tutorial applications, don't I? Do I by chance have that? I don't. Okay, Rails new video tutorial applications. We'll get there. Oh, it still didn't work. Oh, because I didn't bundle. Huh. Wouldn't have been able to bundle install yet. Something just seems off. What was it actually trying to do when it ran that? Lots of error, that gem source problem, still there. So it was running bundle install, and it got an uninitialized constant gem source, but from within the directory here, I'm able to run it just fine. Okay. What do we have in here? That looks like a Rails app. So let's open it in Vim. See ya, SB Ditto. Thanks for dropping by. Config database. Let's look there. We're using SQLite. Fine. That's normal. So if I were to come here and we did Rails S. Oh, you want to listen on 3000, do you? Well, I'll allow it for now because that conflicts with the book code. So let's go to localhost 3000. Hey, look at that. Excuse me. We are indeed running Rails. But what I want to do is switch to using Postgres as the database. So I think we just type Postgres here, and then we would need to give it a database URL. Not like that. Let's see. Rails database URLs. If you want to connect with a URL string, how do you do it? If you have both that, Rails will merge the configuration together. Okay, connection preferences are two ways to configure your connection using config database URL or using an environment variable. It's important to understand how they can interact. If you have an empty file but it's present, then Rails will connect to the database via your environment variable. You have the config YAML but no whatever, then this file will be used. If you have both, it merges them. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I don't want the file at all. So we can write that and delete you. Get rid of it. So now if we do Rails S, it should complain. What? How did that even work? Guess we're not trying to do anything with the database. Aha, there we go. Can't load database configuration. Fine. That's what we wanted. Now I need to get .env working in here. Is that how we did it? No, we're not using environment variables locally yet. So let's just get .env working real quick. Rails. Nice spelling there. Rails. So let's add this to the gem file. To the very top of it. I don't even... Sprockets is now scaring me. Use JavaScript, Hotwire. Hotwire's modest framework. I'm not going to use Redis or Redis. Oh boy, might end up using that. Bootsnap. I'm not going to use that. Active storage variants. We are not going to use that either. Gem debug, web console. Forget all of this. I totally want... Oh, thinking could I use test bench with Rails? But I wouldn't know how to test controllers if we did that. So render unto Rails. Selenium WebDriver and Capybara. I'm not going to use Selenium probably, but, and we're not going to use that. We will need gem PG, Postgres database driver. I do like to leave comments in for why we're using each gem, honestly, so we'll just leave those. And what is the thing we're putting in here? Was it Postgres we were coming to include? I don't remember. That's a shame. Well, oh no, it's .env. We'll need both of them, so let's do gem.env. Wait a second. This isn't an actual production application. I think I shouldn't have deleted that one file. The database YAML, we can just hard code it because we're not shipping this anywhere. My bad. So let's do a Rails new get db YAML explode. That's all fine. Wait, it worked that time? I don't understand it. So let's go into that config database.yaml, and then we'll put that into video tutorial applications config like so. And now if we come here, we should have our database YAML back. Great. We do need the Postgres driver though, so I'm not going to worry about that. That'll just increase friction for folks trying to pull this down and run it. So with that in place, our adapter would be Postgres, and the database that we would want is video tutorials applications development, and then a similar one for test. Get rid of that one and get rid of all of those. This isn't going to production. So if we do that and we run rake db create, probably going to get permission problems. Could not, right, we need to install that. Do the little dance of waiting for things to install. Give me a connection. Oh, I just backgrounded. A few bucks. So what do you give? Could not load the Postgres active record adapter. Is a Postgres cool? Let's find out. It is indeed Postgres cool. I spelled that wrong. You go big. Now give me credential problems. No such file. Okay, wait a second. When you do the configuration there, can you do a database URL in a config YAML? You can just put URL in there. Okay. So if we come here and instead of database, this says, no, let's give it a URL. So Postgres // it would be local host. I don't remember the credentials we have for that database. So what do we expect? It says Postgres with no password. Postgres at localhost. And what port are we on? 5432. And then the database that we would want is Practical Microservices. And I'm going to comment out the test one for right now. So let's go like that and see what happens. Okay, server's not running because we don't have the Docker container going. So if we grab from the books code, so we're in practical microservices right now. So if we did copy code, video tutorials, Docker compose into video tutorials applications like so, and then we can go into video tutorials applications and we can do Docker compose rm-sf and Docker compose up. Now I don't have anything running already. I do the Docker compose rm-sf so that we can just press up if we restart it. Oh, Docker's not running. Neat. So let's start Docker. Rebooting a computer is so much fun because then you get to do so many things to get it all working again. Hopefully those tunes in the background can count as hold music. Let's try this again. Bunch of things happened there. Now if we go to create this, it already exists. Right, because starting the Docker container, the Docker compose file would have had what was needed to get that in place. Yeah. I wonder if it would make more sense to not have it that way. And oh wow, this is an old version of Postgres. 10, what is it on now? 15. Let's grab 15 Alpine instead. Let's make that a little leaner there so we can close you. Now if we run rakedb create. Oh, I didn't like that. How come? Did something fail? MessageDB is running. Exited with code 1. Oh, right. In more recent versions of Postgres, in a production scenario, you definitely do not want to do the following. I want the root pass or the root user to be able to run with no password. And so if you're using Postgres and Docker locally, why require a password? That's just unnecessary friction. But never set this in a like on your production database. Can't recommend doing that. So I think if we go like that, and then we rerun our container here. Let's see, let's scroll up. Get past the MessageDB installation output. There we go, we're running. So yeah, you just need to make sure if you want to keep your root user with no password, it tells you in the output when the container first runs, but if you just want a faster way to find that, just add that environment variable to your Docker compose file and you'll be good to go. So I'm gonna take a note here real quick. pg root pen is dead with no pw, and today is 11/29. Okay, note taken. Let's see if rakedb create will work. Hey, look at that. So now we can start the database server and Rails can own creating that database. However, if I change its name, because Rails likes to take the test database and delete things in it, it might make more sense to now add these development bits like so. And then we can add the test database in here. Oops, like so. Put you in place. And yoink, you're gone. get that all running again. Now we can make our two databases. This should, oh right, because we changed the name of it. Excuse me. I am going to make a second copy of this connection. So we'll duplicate that and we will rename this Practical Microservices Rails. And I'm going to just leave that off. Let's go ahead and save that. That will now take us to the database server, so we'll just need to make sure to select the database that we want to look at rather than opening straight to it and database doesn't have anything in it. Okay, that's what we would expect. So now can I do... I did rake db create. That could have been rails db create. Oh, that takes me back to like 2007. So there are no migrations, but if I run that, now there should be some tables. Indeed, so keeping track of the migrations. Great. Okay. So that's running. And the whole point of this was so that we could validate that the gem is sharing the schema information correctly. So if we come back to the aggregator gem here, I think this is all correct. What I don't remember is how far did we get with packaging this into a client gem. So if we go namespace, user credential schema, client schema equals that thing. That all looks as it should. And this requires the things that we need. There may be a few missing files that we are not pulling into the gem spec. What do we have over here? That seems like it's going to pull in a lot of things that we don't actually need. It might make more sense to come in and just... I guess if it grabs all of the files, fine. It doesn't mean that it exposes them via the client like we're after. Yeah. Okay, we'll just leave this. What I mean is this has... Oh no, it only pulls in the ones that load references. My bad. No, this is exactly correct. Yeah, I was just afraid that it was going to pull in all of the files from the entire aggregator. And that's not our goal. We don't want to share everything that's in there. This gem is supposed to be just the stuff we need to get the database table in place. So I'm going to... Oh, interesting. Clicking that went to that file. Huh. All right, fine. Let's do this. And we'll yank that to the system clipboard. I don't really understand the impact of that decision, so I'm going to avoid making it. Good life advice, kids. Just avoid things that you don't understand. No, that's not. All right, here we go. So let's see here. I think that my gem is more important than Rails. So let's just go ahead and drop that in. That's the name of the gem, and this one has a path, which is up one level from where we are. User credentials aggregator, and I believe that those are dashes and not underscores. Also, oh, never mind. I thought that the window name here, I saw a dash on the end of it like there is over here, and I thought, oh no, that can't be right. But no, it just has the dash there. That's fine. Okay, so user credentials aggregator, kebab case, that is correct. So if we come back here, in theory now, if we bundle install, it should work. Aha, look at that. Okay, so we pulled in the gem. Now, first of all, we don't need that database. And the schema has nothing in it. Will we have migrations? I don't think that any of the tables in the book code were necessitated by the application itself because everything was aggregated data. So we probably won't have any migrations in here at all. The question is, like, if I'm using a Rails app, how do I hook this gem that's providing this method that will put the schema in place? How do I get that into the Rails app and then only in the environment that I care about? And here's how I'm going to do it. Not in there. Here's how I'm going to do it. We go to config initializers here. We can open initializers, and this is the place in Rails where you can put your own custom boot up code. So a lot of gems will use this. This may have other things that you want to do on start. And I just need to do something real quick. Plural of schema. This is really important. All right, schemata is a valid plural of schema. It sounds really snooty, so we're going to use it. So load aggregator schemata. Look at that. I mean, you come to this project, you see that, and you're like, wow, this was made by intelligent people. Here's the trouble, though. Do I want that to run first? I don't know. We'll just put it in like so. Okay, so what does one of these look like? Do you need any sort of boilerplate? There is none, so it's just a file. And what we're going to do is require user notification. No, not user notification. That's the muscle memory. It's the user credentials aggregator. Because that's our gem. So first off, does that work or does that break? That breaks. Why does that break? Could not find event-tied Postgres. And that is probably because in the... Whoa, what did I just do? Okay. Close you and you. And runtime dependencies. Oh, wait a second. Now we made our own session class by ripping off the existing event-tied one. So that should only depend on PG connection. So, or the PG gem. So somewhere in here, it thinks that this client gem needs to have all of event-tied. That is not the case. So does it need to say client in it? Because when we go to require this, I think we need to specify that we want the client like so. That also failed. Is it for the same reason? Oh, right. No, because it's not the aggregator. Oh, yeah. Silly me. We're not requiring the aggregator. We're requiring the schema client. I think it does need the client. Maybe not. What went wrong this time? Ah, so there is no settings class for us to inherit from here. All right, we're getting stuck in dependency land here. So what we could do is, well, EVT settings is listed as a dependency of this. That's bizarre. Oh no, view data database settings. Oh, right, because our loading. Here we go. So if we open this client one, right, we need to require more than just PG. We would need to require settings as well. So if we come back to the Rails app, does that make things better? Session dependency. So we haven't required the dependency gem. Is that one listed here? Doesn't seem to be. If we just try to load it, what do we get? Explosion. Oh, dependency worked, but log dependency doesn't work. So we would need to make sure to require, is it just log? There we go. Okay. So we were missing some important require statements in the schema client there. So with that in place, then if rails.env.development or rails.env.test. Because the idea is these aggregator tables are owned by the aggregators. They're not owned by Rails. So it is not Rails' responsibility to put them in place in any environment other than development and test, because the aggregator would have done that. Right, so then we could say user credentials client schema, I believe, is all we would need to do. Oh, that was... Okay, it's not user credentials. What did we name it over here? Namespace, user credentials, schema client. Okay, right. So come back here. Like so. Oh, no, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Oh, because now it's looking... Wait a second. No such file or directory. Oh, my pathing is wrong. Lib user credentials. Okay, so for users, my name, source, such software, practical microservices, user credentials aggregator, lib, user credentials aggregator. Excuse me. Lib user credentials aggregator schema. Oh, of course. Yeah, my file join is all off. Oh, that is not the file I thought it was. We'll wrap this up real quick here. Right, so the dir of this file would already include lib user credentials aggregator, so we would just need to get rid of those two lines to then point to the schema directory. So if we come back here and run you... Oh, settings cannot be read from that JSON file because it does not exist. That is correct. So, how do we fix that real quick? Oh, this is a nuisance, isn't it? Okay, I think we have to stop here. So what's the problem that we have? I suppose we could just put a settings file over in the other project, but the event type components, the session class that they use that we blatantly copied for this aggregator, wants to find the database settings in a JSON file inside of settings. And so if we open our, not that one, this one, oh, it was already open on the right. The data source here, it is going to find this database variable, which would be the path where you would find the file, or just default to something called settings view data database JSON, which matches the file that we have over here, like so. However, I don't want to have that file in our application. Let's just see if it would even work real quick. So make dir settings, and if we copied from user credentials aggregator settings view data database .json and we put that in settings, would we run successfully? No, we wouldn't. Because the database name is incorrect, right? Because we changed that. So we come to settings. DB name would be practical microservices development. All of that should remain the same. Now what happened? We got a syntax error in the SQL. I don't remember how to do that. So Postgres create table. And there's a constraint option in here. Constraint name. Oh, I see. We have to give it a name first. So, I forget like what the convention around this sort of thing is. So if we come here, it would be primary key user, PS, PK, user credentials, like so. Hey, look at that. So it ran. And now if we reload this, there's our user credentials table. Boom. Oh boy, we got there. That was a journey. I'm really happy with that. That's great. So to recap what we did, and then I've got to get back to my day job, is we have our user credentials aggregator project, and it's the thing that owns this table that we're writing to with our aggregated user credentials. And great, it all works just fine. That's lovely. However, the application layer needs access to that schema if we want to write tests that involve actually reading from the database. And that's how you do Rails tests. You actually put things in a database and then you load from it. Rather than the substitute stuff that we have. Although we don't use the substitutes when we're reading, they're purely for writing. I've done it before where I wrote a substitute that supplied data to read from, and it didn't flow well. I don't remember if that was at work or here on the stream. But the point is, we've got this table and we want the application to be able to have access it in development and test, but it shouldn't be responsible for putting it in place in production. It doesn't own it. We wouldn't expect it to do anything with it. So with the aggregator, we made a gem spec that bundles up just the stuff necessary to expose our function, our method, because it's a method on an object. I am pedantic like that. To expose this call method right here, we made a gem that has just that. So then we made a Rails app whose gem file, whose gem file pulls that in, and we use the path mechanism to point to where that is in our file system. If we were publishing this, it might flow a little bit differently. I'm not worrying about that aspect because that's not microservices related, that's Ruby and gem related. Trying to minimize the amount of that we do. So that client in gem exposes the function that puts our schema in place. Great. But now how do we hook that into Rails? Do we put it in a migration? That seems really weird to me because migrations are for things that Rails owns. Rails does not own this database table. Well, made an initializer, which is where you can put custom stuff when a Rails app is loading. And in that initializer, we required our schema gem. And then we put this check to make sure we're only in development or test. And then we invoke that schema migration. So as we add more aggregators, we will see other little gems like this. So video operations is a table that we're going to need to put in there. We will make a similar thing like this to handle that, I think. That would probably go, well, I don't know where it would go. I have to remember what the where that lives in the system. I don't recall that, but we've got the aggregator producing this gem with the schema. We're able to get that into our Rails application, and that is fantastic. I think that may be it for the user credentials aggregator. I'm not sure about that, but we will figure that out next time. So until then, have a wonderful day and happy coding.